Multi-day tornado outbreak.
Power flash, look at that.
With more than 50 million Americans bracing for severe weather.
It felt like all the air came out of our cellar.
The threat now in its third day. Communities from Oklahoma to Michigan are cleaning up after more than 36 tornadoes touched down.
So your trailer was here?
Yeah, my trailer was here.
And now?
Now it's over there.
The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. We come on the air tonight with breaking news with another outbreak of tornadoes, this time in Tennessee, Illinois, and Missouri. This is the third straight day of dangerous and possibly deadly weather moving across the U.S. Tens of millions of people tonight are in the path of this massive storm system that stretches from Texas to Virginia, with severe thunderstorms, destructive winds, large hail, and more twisters. Today's threats follow another night of terror in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, with at least 19 tornadoes in 8 states. Homes and businesses were torn apart, including this FedEx facility in the town of Portage, Michigan. That's just south of Kalamazoo. Trees were ripped up and power was knocked out for tens of thousands of residents. Tonight, we have team coverage of this wild weather, and CBS's Roxana Saberi will start us off.
Tonight, once again, a tornado threat became reality across the midsection of the country.
Power flash, look at that.
Up north, tornadoes tore across the Midwest Tuesday.
That's a big one.
At least 3 have been confirmed in Michigan, prompting the state's first ever tornado emergency. In the crosshairs, Kalamazoo County, where 176 homes were damaged or destroyed. The city of Portage took a direct hit not once, but twice, in less than an hour and a half. An EF2 twister with winds of 135 miles per hour mangled this FedEx facility. Authorities tell CBS News everyone inside was able to escape by the time rescuers arrived. This doorbell camera captured the moment a tornado toppled nearly every tree in sight.
Oh my God.
While a few miles away, a twister slammed Pavilion Estates, splintering several mobile homes and injuring at least 12 people. Today, the sound of chainsaws filled the air as residents began cleaning up. The force of the first tornado was so strong, it wrapped multiple homes around this tree. So your trailer was here?
Yeah, my trailer was here.
And now?
Now it's over there, yes.
That's your trailer. Gerald Brooks says he survived by hiding in his closet.
I just said a couple prayers and just curled up in a ball. It's probably about 10 seconds I was in the air.
So you think if you weren't in the closet,
I don't think I would have been here.
the Red Cross has opened an emergency shelter to help families displaced by the tornadoes that ripped through neighborhoods like this one. The family living in this house told us they've had to move out, and now they're just waiting for their home to collapse. Nora?
Roxana Saberi, thank you for being there. There's even more severe weather in the forecast tonight and tomorrow, so let's bring in meteorologist Reynolds Wolf from our partners at the Weather Channel. Good evening, Reynolds.
Good evening, Nora. We have got the boom of thunder that is approaching the Music City, and the setup that we have, atmospherically speaking, is very similar to what we saw yesterday. Plenty of moisture feeding in from the Gulf of Mexico. We have the daytime heating, creating an unstable air mass, and then we have this energy that is rolling from west to east, and you see the result right there. It is a bevy of watches and warnings, and again, some very tumultuous storms that are racing across America's landscape, bringing with it really the hammer blows of severe weather, including tornadoes. Now, at this time, we do have a Torcon listed for much of the area that ranges in a 5. Now, remember, they go from 1 to 10, so a 5 is where we stand. Now, in terms of damaging wind, greater likelihood of having some damage there. Certainly widespread power outages may be in the mix, and also the formation of very large hail. But what may prove to be the biggest part of the story is the rainfall. It could be excessive. We're talking about an area that has had plenty of moisture, and with another 2 to 3 inches of rainfall possible as we make our way through the next several hours, there's certainly a very good chance of some flash flooding. Now, this system is eventually going to linger a bit more towards the east and to the south, but still, millions of Americans will be under threat for tomorrow. Nora?
That's good information, Reynolds Wolf. Thank you so much. Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the breaking news out of the White House. President Biden issuing a warning to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The U.S. will not supply weapons that Israel could use in an assault in the southern city of Rafah. We get details now from Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent and Face the Nation moderator, Margaret Brennan.
This is what the Israeli military calls a limited operation in Rafah, where airstrikes today hit one of the most densely populated places on earth. Nearly 1.5 million people have swelled into this part of southern Gaza. Casualties and lack of supplies overwhelmed this Kuwait hospital director.
I feel that the rockets, the explosive bombs are completely different from those which have been used before.
The Biden administration announced that while it is surging weapons to Israel, it has simultaneously paused delivery of 3,500 so-called dumb bombs due to concern of the impact of 2,000-pound bombs in dense urban settings.
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem.
The Israeli military publicly downplayed the pause, but privately, CBS was told of deep frustration, including among Republicans.
This is obscene. It is absurd. Give Israel what they need to fight the war they can't afford to lose.
It is the first such limiting action put on Israel in this 7-month war Hamas began back in October. But President Biden warned Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu a month ago that he was considering a policy change if Israel did not show more care for civilians. Half of the 35,000 dead in Gaza are children. While Biden did usher through $26 billion in emergency aid to Israel, he's under pressure from more than half of congressional Democrats who are calling for him to withhold offensive weaponry. Now he's trying to signal U.S. support may not be unequivocal when it comes to how Israel uses U.S. taxpayer-funded weapons.
We just don't believe it's possible to move those people to other places inside Gaza, and we have not seen a plan to take care of them if they were moved to other places.
And the president also said tonight the U.S. may pause artillery shell deliveries. Meanwhile, the CIA director Bill Burns met with Netanyahu in Israel and is now back in Egypt. And it is the United States, Nora, that is leading these diplomatic efforts to release hostages and pause the fighting.
No doubt they're working very hard on this. Margaret Brennan, thank you. Tonight, another win for Donald Trump's legal team as they push to delay his trials. The start date of the Georgia election interference case is now in limbo after an appeals court agreed to hear Trump's argument to disqualify District Attorney Fani Willis. Trump and other defendants want her off the case, claiming her relationship with the former special prosecutor presented a conflict of interest. On Tuesday, the judge in his classified documents case postponed that trial indefinitely, saying it will take months to settle disputes over evidence. Meanwhile, Trump's so-called hush money trial, well, that resumes in New York tomorrow. Now to a CBS News exclusive. A former Spirit Aerosystems employee who blew the whistle over safety concerns is now breaking his silence to CBS News. The company is a major supplier for Boeing and has been under intense scrutiny since January when a door panel blew off an Alaska Airlines plane mid-flight. Well, tonight the whistleblower is telling his story to our senior transportation correspondent, Chris Van Cleve.
If quality mattered, I would still be a Spirit.
For about a decade, Santiago Paredes worked at the end of the production line at one of Boeing's largest suppliers, Spirit Aerosystems, doing final inspections on 737 fuselages before they'd ship to Boeing. How often did you find issues?
Every day. I'm finding over 100 defects in every day.
Findings he says his managers pressured him to keep to a minimum, even, he says, referring to him by the nickname Showstopper because repairs he identified delayed deliveries, which he says cost Spirit money.
They always said that they didn't have time to fix the mistakes.
Didn't have time because they needed to get the planes out?
They needed the planes out, yep.
CBS News spoke with several current and former Spirit employees and reviewed photos of dented fuselages and a wrench they say was left behind in a supposedly ready-to-deliver component. Were these defects that if they weren't fixed could be a safety issue down the line?
Some of them were because some of them were missing fasteners.
And a fastener holds parts of the plane together.
Yeah.
Boeing confirms it's long had a team that finds and fixes defects in Spirit products after delivery when Boeing is assembling the planes.
It's a recipe for disaster, really. I said it was just a matter of time before something bad happened.
In February 2022, Paredes said his bosses asked him to speed up inspections by being less specific about where he was finding issues. He emailed his managers writing the request was unethical. What happened to you?
They took my team lead away. They stripped me from my leadership position.
After filing an ethics complaint with HR and contacting the company's CEO, Paredes eventually was reinstated, but says he'd had enough, resigning that summer.
It takes a toll on you, and I was tired of fighting.
Until today, Paredes, an Air Force veteran who spent 12 years at Spirit's Wichita plant, was known as Former Employee 1 in a lawsuit brought in December by Spirit shareholders, alleging widespread quality failures. Quality failures Paredes says Boeing was well aware of.
For many years, they knew they were getting defective fuselages.
He says he frequently found issues near door panels similar to the one that blew out of a 737 MAX mid-flight in January. The ongoing NTSB investigation indicates that door panel was removed during final assembly to allow Spirit contractors to make defect repairs. It appears the bolts holding the panel were not reinstalled.
While working at Spirit, I almost grew a fear of flying. There's about 2 or 3 units that is in the back of your mind that you know that you would never want to fly on.
You think there are planes out there that you wouldn't want to fly on?
But knowing what I know about the 737, it makes me very uncomfortable when I fly on one of them.
Spirit declined our request for an interview, but in a statement says the claims against the company in that shareholder lawsuit are unfounded, and it remains committed to addressing concerns and continuously improving workplace safety standards. Nora?
So, Chris, it seems like one of the obvious questions is, what's Boeing doing about this?
Well, since March, Boeing has been inspecting every fuselage that comes off the line in Wichita. Boeing's CEO says that has cut defect issues by about 80%. Boeing maintains the 737 is safe.
Chris Van Cleve, thank you very much. There's breaking news tonight from here in Washington. Democrats joined Republicans in an overwhelming vote to defeat a motion to remove House Speaker Mike Johnson from his leadership position.
To be vacant.
You can hear it. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was met with boos after she filed that motion to vacate the chair. Greene wanted to remove Speaker Johnson after he helped pass several bipartisan bills, including a foreign aid package with funds for Ukraine. Major cities across the U.S. have been battling an expensive problem for the last several years: organized retail theft. In 2022 alone, the losses added up to more than $100 billion. Well, now New York City is cracking down on these operations that buy stolen goods in bulk and then resell it for a huge profit. Here's CBS's Lilia Luciano.
We've all seen the videos, flash mobs and smash and grabs targeting popular chain stores. Now police say some of those thefts could be fueling organized retail crime.
They were doing this to make money.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced recovering $1 million in stolen goods headed for resale.
We found hundreds of boxes of stolen items ranging from designer purses, electronic devices, over-the-counter medications.
It's called fencing.
The people behind fencing operations often use individual shoplifters to steal goods from your local Dwayne Reed, your bodega, your convenience store. From there, the goods are brought to the fencers, who boost their bottom line by reselling them.
A similar operation shut down in Los Angeles. Police found hundreds of thousands of dollars in stolen items believed to be from Target, CBS, and Walmart. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, Houston, and New York are the most impacted by organized retail crime. Recently, Nora spoke with the CEO of CVS Health, Karen Lynch, about the problem.
I remember back in the day, the really expensive stuff would be under lock and key. I get that. But now it's like shampoo and toothpaste. Why?
Because they're coming in and they're just ripping through like the entire counter. And so we're trying to keep things safe.
The New York DA said today that more than $200,000 from that $1 million bust were goods that were stolen from Macy's alone. And experts say that this type of crime doesn't only impact what consumers could end up paying, but also jobs, because many of these retailers end up shutting down stores. Nora.
It is a big problem. Lilia Luciano, thank you so much. Dramatic moments as a FedEx plane skids down a runway. Look at this, sparks flying. We've got the details next. The former translator for baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani has agreed to plead guilty to illegally transferring $17 million out of Ohtani's account. The Justice Department says he'll plead guilty to bank fraud and an additional tax charge. Investigators say that in 2021, Ohtani's translator started placing what turned out to be thousands of sports bets without Ohtani's knowledge. The 26-year-old man accused of murdering Georgia nursing student Laken Riley has been indicted by a grand jury on 10 new charges, including kidnapping and being a peeping Tom. The suspect, a migrant from Venezuela, is charged with killing the 22-year-old while she was jogging on the University of Georgia campus in February. A FedEx cargo plane skidded to a stop today while making a fiery emergency landing in Istanbul, Turkey. Turkish officials say the front landing gear wasn't working on the Boeing 767. Emergency crews scrambled to the runway and were ready to douse it with foam. Good news, no one was hurt. One state's battle to keep kids safe online. Our exclusive video from their investigation. That's next. Two men are under arrest in New Mexico tonight after police say they tried to solicit sex from children through Facebook. The state's attorney general called Meta's platforms, quote, a breeding ground for predators in a civil lawsuit filed against the company in December. CBS's Jolene Kent has been following the story, and she brings us exclusive body camera video of the new arrests.
Police were waiting in this room at a New Mexico motel when a 52-year-old man showed up, expecting, investigators say, to meet a 12-year-old girl.
I'm a relative.
In this body cam video, obtained exclusively by CBS News, Fernando Clyde was arrested and charged yesterday after allegedly sending unsolicited sexual messages on Facebook Messenger to the girl who was actually an undercover special agent with the New Mexico Justice Department. The sting is part of Operation Metafile, which also resulted in the arrest of 29-year-old Marlon Kellywood at the same motel. The Facebook profile photo was created using AI and attracted potential predators.
They initiated a sexual conversation. They were sending images of graphic images of genitalia. They were making really horrific statements about their interest in sex with these children.
What do you make of the way Meta and other social platforms have handled this major pervasive threat thus far?
I think it's abundantly clear that Meta and executives like Mr. Zuckerberg don't have any intention of dedicating the kinds of resources necessary to making sure that these platforms are safe. If they could make this safe on their own, they would have done it by now.
The arrests come after our exclusive reporting last December, revealing New Mexico's separate civil lawsuit against Meta regarding child exploitation. In a statement, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, says child exploitation is a horrific crime and we've spent years building technology to combat it. The company says it uses sophisticated technology and experts, reporting content to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That organization received 36.2 million reports of suspected child sexual exploitation online in 2023 alone.
We could have a child in New Mexico or anywhere in America lured by one of these monsters.
Jolene Kent, CBS News.
Our Heart of America is next.
This portion of the CBS Evening News is sponsored by Opdivo plus Yervoy. Find out more at opdivo.com.
Finally, tonight's Heart of America. In the lead up to Mother's Day, we have the story of a mother's mission to help her son and others in desperate need of life-saving blood. Lisa Harloff's 8-year-old son, Hudson, needs a transfusion every few weeks. Last week, she and her son helped to host a blood drive at a church in Matawan, Michigan. This mother and son duo say blood donations are crucial and not just for Hudson.
Sometimes people think that somebody else will do it and they don't need to, but I want people to understand that if everyone thought that way, that nobody would donate blood, and people like Hudson here wouldn't be here today. So it's definitely very important.
Whoever donates blood, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Lisa and Hudson Harloff, they are tonight's Heart of America. And a reminder, I need to go give blood. That's tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Nora O'Donnell. Good night.